All right, let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this training session on earned value management. This is your host, Sham from QuickStart. I'm with Rich Weller. Rich is a PMP uh, instructor as well as a project management consultant. He's got years of experience under his belt. If you are preparing for the PMP exam, this is going to be a very valuable session for you guys. So, without further ado, Rich, please take it from here.
Thank you very much for that introduction and welcome everyone. I hope you are prepared to go on a little journey with me today around the topic of earned value management. So without further ado, let's move forward. Let's march forward here. We've got a heavy agenda for today's session. I'll just kind of rip through here and let you know what's coming. Um, um, First off, I want to tell you just a little bit about me. Won't take too long on that. We'll look at the objectives for this course. I'll let you know or provide you the definition of what is earned value management, and then also what is earned value analysis. And then we'll dive into performance measures, variances, performance indexes. We'll even look at a graphical representation of information, and then something called completion metrics. So be prepared, a lot of new terms and definitions coming your way today. So real quick about me, my name is Rich Weller, MBA, PMP certified as already mentioned. I'm certified in Microsoft Project as well as hold a Scrum Master certification and a couple other certifications in Agile. I'm not about to read all of those bullet points there on the screen. You feel free to scan through them. I did highlighted a few of them in red so they pop out a little bit so you can see, perhaps the value that I do bring to this topic. Over 20 years of working in the real world and managing project planning and managing projects. I've been a instructor for Washtenaw Community College in the space of project management for nearly over a dozen years. I'm certified in Microsoft Project, as mentioned already, PMP as well, and I also present quite often at other PMI events as well as Microsoft Project user events. So that's a little bit about me. I think I do bring some, not only the credentials, but also experience in the real world as well as the classroom to this topic. So let's move forward now. Let's look at our course objectives. So by the end of this course, the end of the hour, you should be able to explain earned value management. You should be able to explain earned value analysis at a high level. For sure, you should be able to duplicate what we're going to demonstrate today. I also believe that you will understand that there are definitive steps that are required to get started in earned value, working with earned value, and as well as you will realize that it requires a discipline approach or requires discipline to make things work. So the reason that this course is important is because, one, it will provide you an unbiased way, an unbiased method for analyzing the health of your project. If you're working on a project in the real world, this solution will provide you an unbiased method for analyzing the health. And as mentioned already, if you're preparing for the PMI's, that is the Project Management Institute's Project Management Professional Certification Exam, that PMP exam, everything that you will learn from here will apply directly to that. So now let us roll our sleeves up and dig in here. So earned value management. What is earned value management? So this it is a methodology that combines scope, schedule, and resource measurements to assess project performance and progress. Now you'll notice I put the reference there. This definition is coming directly from the 6th edition of PMBOK, published in 2017. So you can find this definition within there. EVM, Earned Value Management for short, EVM. It develops and monitors 3 key dimensions for each work package and control account. Those 3 variables, those 3 dimensions, you can see here: earned value, planned value, earned value, and actual cost. So realize that as we're working in earned value management, those are the 3 key variables that we're going to be working with. And EVM, it integrates the scope baseline, the scope of your project, the cost baseline, the cost of your project, as well as the schedule baselines. So it takes this baseline information of scope, cost, and schedule, and these 3 variables that forms what's called your performance measurement baseline. So that is, as the words say there, your performance measurement baseline. These 3 variables say this is our baseline. This is how we expect to perform on this project moving forward. Again, a reference from PMBOK. So if we take that definition and then we move into the definition of earned value analysis, you'll see that earned value analysis then picks up. Earned value analysis compares that performance measurement baseline, those 3 variables, those 3 baseline variables, it compares that to the actual information around your project. In other words, the actual schedule, and the actual cost with respect to your project. So as we move forward throughout this session, you're going to see how this comes together. And what this earned value analysis, what it does, it combines those variables of cost and time, and it compares the actuals to the original, that baseline plan, and it provides us another phrase here. It provides us something called performance indexes to gauge our progress. So with these variables, with these attributes, with the calculations performed by doing earned value analysis, we'll know the health of our project and where we're at. But wait, hang on a second. Before we start throwing any more terminology at you, or the process at you, or dive into some of these formulas, we probably should have a project to work with. And so, because that makes these concepts a little more tangible. I've been in a number of these classes or sessions, or where people try to explain earned value management almost backwards from my perspective. Instead of starting off simple, starting with a real project, they kind of look at like an S curve, and we'll see one of those in a bit, and they try to explain that backwards, trying to take something very complex and explain it in reverse. What I want to do is I want to build forward and try to keep things as simple as possible at first, adding complexity over time. So with that said, again, we need a project to take these concepts that are somewhat new, maybe somewhat new and foreign to us, to make them real world, to make them concrete and give them teeth. So without further ado, our project, we're going to have a pipeline project. And the scope of this project is to install a new pipeline between Dallas and Houston, Texas, and that's it'll be roughly 240 miles, as you can see here in the picture on the map. And so with that being said, where we move to now that we know the scope of our project, there are steps involved with setting up your project to leverage earned value, and that's the process. These are the steps that we're going to talk about right now. So the first thing you need to do is create a work breakdown structure. In other words, decompose that large project down using a work breakdown structure, identifying those work packages, ultimately coming up with the tasks or activities that are required to complete that project. And if you haven't already watched it, there's another presentation in the QuickStart series entitled "How to Build a Project Schedule," and it'll give you more details around how to create that work breakdown structure and then identify tasks to create your project. So you might check out that video. So once you've got those activities, the next thing that you would want to do is allocate not only duration, but also cost to each one of those activities. So we've got our activity identified, we have the duration variable or attribute tied to it, as well as the cost. And so with that, the next thing that we would do is establish the logic between the activities. And we would do that leveraging or using a network diagram, establishing that the logic between those activities. In other words, what has to get done first, what comes second, and so on. So the next thing that we would do after we have that network diagram in place and the activities defined, cost, duration, network diagram in place, basically we would analyze our schedule. Is it good? Is it realistic and achievable? And we would have multiple stakeholders. The team needs to be bought in. Our stakeholders need to be bought in that it's realistic and achievable, and our management needs to agree. And once we have a schedule that is realistic and achievable, then we can move forward. Now we can set a baseline. We can snap that baseline or set that baseline for a project. We know what our scope is. We know what our timing is on the schedule side, and we know what our cost for this project is. So we set that baseline. In the next slide that I've got here, I've created a schedule, if you will, or a schedule for our pipeline project. It's pretty simple here. I wanted to try to keep things as simple as possible. You can see a number of activities related to this project. You can also see that we've identified the cost. We've identified our activities, we've identified our cost and duration for each of those activities, and we've built our logic in our network diagram here in this snapshot. This is like our bar chart depicting our network diagram. So we've completed all those steps required to set up our project, and so now to move forward, this is actually a snapshot or a screenshot, if you will, from Microsoft Project, and I'm currently looking at the Gantt chart view. Now, if we switch views in Microsoft Project to what's called a task usage view, and we look at the baseline cost information, again, we have already baselined this schedule. We can see how the cost for each one of those items, if you will, how it spans over time. We can also see the cost by month for the project in this time phase view from the schedule. So that's this picture. I'm just showing that this project schedule has been baselined, and we can see how that cost information is kind of aligns to the tasks and how it spans over time. So now let us move into this next area called performance measures, and this is where we start bringing out some of these earned value metrics. And the first one that we want to look at is one called planned value, and that by the Project Management Institute's definition is the authorized budget assigned to the scheduled work. And that's nothing more than this baseline information. That's really what this is. This is the planned value. And one of the things I want to do moving forward is I want to make things as simple as possible in telling this story and helping you understand how earned value works, in the real world, as well as what you would need to know to help you with the PMP certification. So you'll see here, I've taken this information from Microsoft Project, and I've transferred it over into a little Excel here, so we can easily look at it, and manipulate it and understand it. So you can see our same listing of activities here, A, B, C, D. That's all that is. But you can also see how I've moved instead of 20,000 with all those zeros, I just got 2 here, and a 2 in month number 2. So you can see that I've mirrored this information about our project as far as the planned cost into this into this Excel little graph here. And so now moving forward, we've got our planned value here in this Excel image that we can work with a little bit more, and realize that Now the numbers are simple, smaller. They're not so intimidating, but do realize that that's not $2. That's $20,000 there for month number 1, the planned or baseline cost. This is your baseline plan, and those are the costs involved. Okay, so now that you understand that, what we can do is we can now total this information up for each month. So if we take month number 1, we simply put a total here at the bottom. That's a 2. Again, totaling this column up. Month number 2, 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 3 is 9. So you can see that all we're doing in this next step is to get this total plan value here, we're just adding these columns up. So we're trying to identify what is the plan cost per month, or the total cost per month that we plan to spend for this project. So we've got that information. That's how you calculate that. And then the next step in the process is you actually perform a cumulative calculation. So to perform that step, we would start off with our 2, kind of drop that 2 straight down. But then we take the 2 plus the 9, that gives us 11. 11 plus 7, that gives us 18. So what we're doing in this step of the process to come up to calculate our plan value is that's really just a cumulative total of the total plan value from above. So hopefully that makes sense, and that's simple enough. Do realize that what we can now do, since we have this plan value totaled up here, this cumulative value, we could take this information and we could graph it. So you can see here plan value for month number 1, that's 2. Month number 2 is 11. Month number 3 is 18, and so on. And so all the way out till this month number 9 is 56. Okay, so this is how you could create that. This is how you could graph the planned value for your project on a graph in Excel. How you could calculate it and how you could graph it. So this is planned value. Okay, now let's talk about again, that's all about the plan. So now let's talk about the process of like actuals or maintaining or moving forward after you've got your plan in place. And I say here the process. Let's talk about the process to maintain. So the process to maintain goes like this. You need to update your schedule by reporting the activity progress. How far have you completed that task or activity or not. You need to update the project schedule to keep it in line with reality. And we also need to enter actual costs for each of those activities. We need to perform the earned value calculation. And I should say calculations, actually. There'll be multiple, and we'll get to see some of those coming up here in just a moment. And then once we perform the calculations, then we want to analyze the data, analyze the information that we're getting back, and write a little performance narrative, a little story about the project for where it stands. Now, do realize that earned value analysis, it's really performed at a point in time. And you could do this at any point, after your project schedule has been baseline and you're moving forward. You could do this at any point in time, but realize it is done at a point in time, right? So it's like taking a snapshot for that particular point in time. So with that being said, let's move forward and let's perform the analysis. So again, a snapshot, a point in time. Let's say our analysis date is April or 4/30, April the 30th. And if we draw a line in the sand and say, we are here, what we then can do is we could take, and we've drawn that on our Excel graphic, if you will, to show we're at this, at the end of month number 4. But we could also drop that same line down and say, hey, at the end of month number 4, our planned cost for this project is at $250,000. So again, that's what this 25 is here. So at the end of month 4, this 25 is depicting that the planned cost for our project at the end of month 4 was planned to be at $250,000. Okay, so that's step 1. Now, and that's about getting that planned value metric. The next performance measure that we want to calculate is the one for earned value. And earned value, it's a measurement of the work performed. In other words, this is the work that we've done, but it's expressed in the budget authorized for that work. And I know these are words, and sometimes words are hard to get in your head, but this is the value or the cost for the work that you've actually completed. So if we move forward, again, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and once we show how this works, or once I show how this works, then hopefully it'll make a little bit better sense. So let's say that task A, we were able to get task A 100% complete. And because we were able to get 100% complete, we simply copy down or transfer down the planned cost, planned value for that task in those months straight down. And what we're doing, again, we're laying in we're updating the project to bring it in line with reality. Our analysis date is 4/30. The first task got 100% complete. And so let's drop down now and talk about the second task. The second task too, we were able to get it 100% complete. It's all the way done, completed on time. And so because of that, we simply transfer down the cost of the completed activity from what it was in the original plan. Or I'm sorry, for the planned cost. But now if we look at task C here, we can see that the planned cost was 333 across the board here for 3 months. But you'll notice that our progress to date, we only actually got 2/3 of this. We only got this 2/3 of the way done. And this task, I believe, was for laying the pipe. And maybe our shipment of pipe got our supplier wasn't able to deliver on time, and because of that, we weren't able to get our pipe laid completely. And so this task is only 2/3 of the way complete. And since we weren't able to complete this task in this month, we can't claim the 3 here. We have to input a 0 here because nothing was done. It was not completed. And so that's how you input your values for the earned value. And so once you get those earned values entered in at the task level or the activity level, then you want to total them up. So we've got this total earned value row down here. It's really just adding up the blue cells. So 2, bringing the 2 down. So now in the second month, we've got 2 plus 4 is 6 plus 3 is 9. So that's good. 4 plus 3 is 7. And then if you look at this month 4, it's 4 plus 0 is only equal to 4. Okay, so that's our total earned value for each month. But then we go one step further or farther, and we perform that cumulative calculation. So you drop your 2 down here to get the first month, but you say 2 plus 9 is 11, 11 plus 7 is 18, 18 plus 4 is 22. So that's so this is how we calculate the earned value for this task. In other words, it's really the cumulative values. Okay. So we've done planned value, we've done earned value. The next performance measure that we're going to look at is the one called actual cost, actual cost of work performed. This is the actual cost. And as the definition says there, this is the realized cost incurred for the work performed on an activity during a specific time. And this one is not tricky at all. This is really, hey, how much did it cost us to perform this activity in this month? And let us now show you that. So we've got our actual cost legend over here. Actual cost is green. So this first task, right out of the gate, task A, we actually spent 3 instead of 2. But the second month there, our actual cost was 2. Again, remember this $20,000. So then on the task B, we got a 4, 5, and 5. This is how much the actuals were per each month. And then task C was 440. Again, we had no pipe, and so thus we didn't expend any costs for that task during that month. So we had 0 actual cost hit for task C during month 4. So now that we have our cost information entered, or our actual cost entered in at the activity level, we want to perform that same step, the same as we did before. We total each month up. So we look at month number 1, our total actual cost is 3. Month number 2, it's 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 4 is 10, and so on. So you can see 5 and 4 is 9. 5 plus 0 is 5. So this gives us our total actual cost number here at the bottom. And then, just like before, we go one step farther and we calculate our cumulative actual cost now, where we drop our 3 down. Now, you can see how it's getting a little more complex as we move along. So just realize I tried to use the color coding to help us out here. We're focusing on actual costs, which is green. So the first step that we do is drop our 3 down. And then we perform our cumulative calculation. So 3 plus 10 is 13, 13 plus 9 is 22, and 22 plus 5 is 27, okay? And that is what gives us our actual cost. And there are those three key values for earned value management. But now let's move into another section. Let's talk about variances. So the definition, or what is a variance? A variance is a deviation from the plan. And if we use those performance measures that we set up, it's possible, or that we calculated, it's possible to calculate 3 different kinds of variances. You can calculate your cost variance, your schedule variance, and one called total variance. And so let's now see that in action. So we jump back to our working file here, where we're showing our activities down the left, our months across the top, and our earned value, our plan value, earned value, and actual costs down at the bottom. And if we zoom in, right, if you remember, earned value analysis occurs at a point in time, and we're performing this analysis at the end of the 4th month there. And so those variables that I've got highlighted there in red, those are key. So let's take some of the noise out of the way, and let's zoom in on just those 3 variables. And let's go even one step farther to get some of the cloudiness out. So we're making things as simple as possible. So now we can see that we can calculate cost variance, and there's a formula for us to calculate that. We say if we take the earned value number and subtract the actual cost, that'll give us our cost variance. So basically, following our example, if we take plug in the value of 22 for earned value and 27 for actual cost, that gives us a -5. Now, you may be saying, okay, Rich, well, what does that mean? -5? Well, that doesn't mean anything to me. Well, you have to have these, the next piece. This is your decoder ring. Because if your number, your output of this calculation, if it's a positive number, that means you're under budget. If it's a negative number, that actually means you're over budget. If it's 0, you're right on target, you're on budget. So our project at the end of the 4th month is -5, which is over budget. Now, don't forget that 5, because we were trying to make things as simple as possible, that -5 actually means we're over budget by $50,000 at the end of month 4. Okay, that's how the cost variance works. And now let's talk about schedule variance. Very similar. So the schedule variance, there's a formula for that. It is earned value minus plan value. If we drop this down and we EV minus PV equals SV, we simply plug in our variables. 22 minus 25, that gives us a -3. Again, you got to apply your decoder ring. A positive number means we're ahead of schedule. Negative number means we're behind schedule. So in this case, you can see we have a negative number, so we are behind schedule. And now total variance is our last variable that we could calculate. Plan value minus actual cost. In this case, it's a -2. A negative number is 2 is bad. Positive number good. 0, we're right on track. Okay, so now that we've got those variances out of the way, you can see how if we didn't go any farther, you could easily say, hey, our project is really over budget and behind schedule. But let's go even farther. Let's talk about graphical representation and how we could plot this information on a graph so that we can make it visual. So if I jump back here, this is our plan value information plotted from across this row here. You can see that's plotted on the graph, and if we were to plot our earn value, this number at the bottom, you can see it's here in blue, and it's coming out as a 22 on month 4. So you can see that lines up. And then lastly, we plot in our actual costs, and it's the green here coming in. And so you can see how these three plan value, earn value, and actual cost are all can be represented in this graph. But this graph, as you can see there, I highlighted those numbers. It's all represented in that graph. So if you knew earned value, you could quickly be able to look at that graph and say where this, the health of this project. But let's zoom in a little bit. Let's zoom in on just this portion of the graph, and maybe even a little bit farther. Let's zoom in because we're really focusing on the what's the health of our project at the end of month 4, at the end of April. So if we zoom in a little bit closer, a little bit tighter on this situation, and we lay in those numbers, now you can see here's your cost variance. And that's that. All I did was brought that formula forward. You can see that variance depicting there again. So in this view, you can see your plan value, which was your original baseline plan, your actual cost for your project so far, as well as your earn value. And this is what you've actually delivered. Basically. What we've actually completed on that pipeline up to date in terms of dollars, and then you can see the variance between our cost variance is depicted here, our schedule variance is shown here. So there's our formula kicking in, and there's our total variance, which is that difference there. So again, if you are using earned value and you understand these key earned value management metrics or performance measures, you could easily pull this information together and know where your project is at. But hang on a second. I'm doing math here and I'm tossing up formulas, and you may be questioning my math skills, or maybe even questioning my ability. Quite often I use Microsoft Project to fact check me, if you will, and quite often it catches mistakes in my work. So what I wanted to do here was I wanted to pull these these variables of plan value, earned value, and actual cost. I wanted to pull them out, and I wanted to lay it right in beside our project. So I brought the Microsoft Project schedule up to date based upon the scenario that we had entered, the numbers that we had entered into the Excel file. So just to check my math, and you can see here 2, 11, 18, 25 across the top. Yep, that lines up, and 250, 220, 270 down the side here. Again, there actually is a 1-to-1. So Microsoft Project does or can help you in performing this earned value analysis. And so my math turned out right in Excel is the moral of this story. So let's move forward just a little bit, because I want to show you one more trick. There's actually a feature in Microsoft Project called Visual Reports, and if you were to drill into those visual reports, there's one of the reports is an earned value over time report, and look at that. You can see straight away that if we were to run that report, it gives us an S curve, and you can see your earned value, plan value, and actual cost can be dumped right out of Microsoft Project into exported into Excel for reporting purposes. So that's that kind of brings us up to where we are now. We've completed our analysis. We know the state or health of our project, behind schedule and over budget. But what we need to do now, it's not enough. We need to align our project with reality, because if you remember, there's some work that was left here in month number 4 that we didn't for this activity C that we didn't complete. There's still work that's incomplete. And so what we need to do is we need to reschedule this incomplete work. We need to reschedule that. And so in order to do that, we take that and 3 and we move it out in front of us, right? So that, because that's work that wasn't completed in month number 4, we still have to do that. And you know, our pipe, let's say our pipe came in on the 1st, and we believe we'll be able to to get this work done in the 5th month, but there's an impact, right? There's an impact to pushing this work out, and you can see the 3 there. But if we, by pushing this work that was originally planned to get done in month 4, by pushing that out, and our revised plan is now to do that in month 5, that has a cascading impact, a downstream impact based upon the hard the logic that was set up within our network diagram. You can see that by pushing this task out, that has a downstream effect, that pushed out these two tasks, D and E, and it also pushed out our task F. So if we were to take this information, you'll notice again we were able to get our original plan was to get the project done in 9 months, but now the revised plan is going to take us an extra month to complete this project. And if we, one more thing, there's also a feature in Microsoft Project where you can do that same trick, which is reschedule incomplete work. And you can see I've done that here, and Microsoft Project mirrored exactly the scenario that we talked about in Excel. You can see the dark rows there. That's the gray bars. That's indicating what our baseline plan is, and our revised plan, you can see, is now pushing out into month 10. Again, you're kind of fact checking me, if you will, around a dynamic schedule, and that, to get to that feature, to get to this option, you would click on update project under the project tab. But let's move back to our revised plan in Excel here, because that's really what we're focusing on. We're not really Microsoft Project. I mean, we're just kind of using that to keep us in check. But if we move back to our revised plan here, you can see we've also revised our total earned value, and revised our earned value number here at the bottom, our cumulative number. And with these revised numbers, now we could update our graph, and so we can see from this graph that here is our original baseline completion at the end of month 9. That was our plan value, and now we can see our revised completion here, which is at the end of month 10. So really, you can see that plan, that earned value line kind of slips out, and that was that delay in getting that work done. It kind of pushed things out, and from here on out, we believe we can follow the same trajectory, if you will, follow the same trajectory of the baseline or plan, or that original plan value, but we have to, absorb that month delay. So that's by graphing that information, that's what that would look like. So the moral of the story thus far, I've mentioned already, our project is over budget and behind schedule, and our target to finish this project is 1 month later than planned. So that's kind of the moral of the story, but we can go farther. There's actually something called performance indexes. Performance indexes, and there's two types of these. One is a cost performance index, and the other one is a schedule performance index. Now, again, more formulas are coming your way. The cost performance index, realize it's calculated by taking the earned value and dividing it by the actual cost. And we've done that here so that we can see our cost performance index, our CPI, is equal to 0.81481. And again, you may say, okay, well, Rich, what does that mean? What value is that? What's the benefit of that? How do I interpret that? And we have to have our decoder ring here, and you have to know that if CPI is greater than 1, your project is under budget. If it's less than 1, you're over budget. So now imagine a world where if your organization was leveraging earned value, and everyone understood how the earned value, these performance indexes. If your boss said, "Hey, what's the status of your project?" and you said 0.81, or straight away you wouldn't have to say anymore. People would know you're over budget, right? So that's how you could use that. So SPI, Schedule Performance Index, works the very same way. We have our example here where it's earned value divided by planned value, and with that, with this given information, it is our 0.88 value is less than 1. So another way of showing that our project is behind schedule. Okay, so we know we're behind schedule. We know we're over budget, but let's talk about getting to the end, right? We're getting to the end of our project. What's it going to take? What's it going to take to finish this project out? What's the total cost going to be when we get there? So these are some of the metrics that we have, or that we can calculate based upon where we are right now. So there's 4 of them. There's one called budget at completion, estimate at completion, variance at completion, and then there's one that's called estimate to completion. So let's dive into these. Budget at completion, this is the sum of all budgets established for the work to be performed. This is really that planned value total. So for our project, you can see where that budget at completion, think about it, the budget at completion, we can see now when we look at the information from this graphic, we can see exactly where that number comes from. And then the next metric is estimate at completion. This one is the expected total cost of completing all the work, expressed as the sum of actual cost to date and the estimate to complete. Actual cost to date and the estimate to complete. And there's a formula that comes with this one as well. So it says budget at completion. If we take budget at completion, which remember that's this variable here, and then we get our cost performance index that we calculated just a moment ago. If we take those 2 variables and we put them into this simple little formula here, we can see that our estimate at completion is 68.727. Now you may say, wait, what does that mean? Guys, that's numbers, and that's $680,000 is what, if we keep following the plan based upon the way it is right now. The original game plan said we could do it in $560,000, and the new game plan, revised plan, is $687,000. So that's why this formula is valuable. So variance at completion, this is a projection of the amount of surplus or deficit when you get to the end, right? So if we have those 2 numbers, and this was just what I was explaining, our original plan was 56, our current plan is 68. So by simply doing the subtraction here, we can see that we're going to be over. Again, it's 12.7, but add your zeros, we're going to be over budget when we get to the end of $120,000. Not good. Finally, the estimate to complete. That's really what's it going to take to get from where we are right now to the end. There's a formula for that. Estimate at complete minus actual cost. So based upon the way our project is right now, it's going to take us $410,000 plus to get to completion. So these are our completion metrics. And what I want to do now is I want to take all of this information. I tried to start out simple and tell you a story and give you a project, and so we're kind of getting to the end here. Remember, we're at the end of our 4th month. And I've taken all of those variables, all of those metrics that we've calculated, and I've put them here on across this across this little table. And don't forget, if we go back to our process, step number 10, it says after performing your earned value calculations, you analyze the data and write your performance narrative. And really, this is the story. This is interpreting these metrics, and this is how you would do it. Because our CPI is less than 1, our project is over budget. Because SPI is less than 1, our project is behind schedule. Our actual cost to date, again, and this information is just coming from up above. Our actual cost to date is $270,000. Our project is currently $50,000 over budget. The current project finish date is 1 month later than our baseline finish. And unless we take some corrective action to get us back on track, the cost of the project at completion will be $687,727. This would mean that our project will end up being over budget by $127,270, and we can perform all of these calculations and right now, and we're only halfway through this project. So in the real world, is this a good situation? No. Are there things we probably could or should do to get reduce the cost? Yeah, I would say yes. But let's move forward. We've come a long way. It is time again to do a math check to make sure all of my calculations were correct. And there is actually a table within Microsoft Project. It's called the Earned Value Table, and you'll notice that it kind of it actually gives us all of these measurements, these KPI, these performance measurement. All of these are in and under the hood of Microsoft Project, and if you're following the process properly, Microsoft Project will return the results. And you can see here there is a 1-to-1 match with the table up above that we calculated in Excel, as well as the values that are being depicted here within Microsoft Project rolling up. So that's pretty cool to know. So with that, I think we've made it to the end of our journey for today, and the topic of earned value management. I know I've covered a lot. I've talked a lot. I've used a lot of terms that are maybe new or unique or foreign to you. I'd like to stop here and to allow the opportunity for any questions if there are any.
All right, so if you guys have any questions later on, please contact us at expertconnect.quickstart.com. It's a question and answer forum for all IT professionals, so you can post your questions there and we're going to answer it. Thank you, Rich, for a wonderful session, and see you next month.
All right. Well, thank you. It's a great. It was a great time, and I hope I shared some valuable information with everyone. If you want to hit me up on your favorite social media, you can find them there at richweller.com.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.